some of the fights that we want to see for this year.
Let me name the first one. Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson.
Tank said that he was going to retire in 2025.
If that's truly what he wants to do, congrats, player.
But he definitely has to fight Shakur. Turkey is there. He'll offer them like crazy money. That's usually what it always comes down to.
Might as well, lead the sport by giving the fans big fights, and Shakur Stevenson has always been that.
Hey, let's go to 154. Terrence Crawford versus Canelo.
We personally don't want to see that fight.
I'd much rather see Crawford versus Akhmadaliev. I think that makes a lot more sense, especially for the 154 landscape.
Crawford, if you're trying to look for a challenge, you got the IBF champion there, Akhmadaliev, coming off of a destructive performance against former champion Tim Tszyu.
Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. They both lost against the number 1 guy. So let's see who's the number 2 guy.
I feel like it has to be done at Wembley Stadium, though.
Yeah.
Those Brits are some crazy boxing fans. I don't see why we can't see this in 2025.
Welcome back to another episode of The Last Round Podcast, where we cover everything from traditional boxing to influencer boxing and everything in between. In today's episode, we'll be going over Misfits 20, headlined by Darren Till as he takes on Anthony Taylor, as well as giving some of our picks for fights that we want to see in 2025. But before we get into the episode, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all forms of social media. Lastly, don't forget to join our Discord. We're trying to build up a community, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. But now, diving into the episode, let's kick things off by going more towards the influencer side. I feel like lately, we say this quite often. When it comes to influencer boxing, it's normally, Misfits is the titan, the number 1 place to be for influencer boxing. So when they don't have an event or anything really coming up that's big, it's kind of, influencer boxing is low-key kind of dead.
It does die down a lot, and I think it goes through like waves. That they have a couple of big moments throughout the year, but they're not really that consistent.
Yeah, and I feel like that's been, since the Gibbon Slim, that's probably the peak of 2024 that they had, and now they're kicking off January or 2025, which was supposed to be the return of Tommy Fury, as he took on Darren Till, but Tommy Fury being a Fury, pulled out of the fight, said, "Oh, Darren Till was going to kick me, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to fight him anymore," and then pulled out the fight.
Yeah, that's a pretty pussy move, no?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was super surprised. I thought it was a joke at first. I thought he was just kind of saying that to kind of maybe build it up. Maybe he was a little pissed off about it, but nothing too crazy until I heard that he did pull out, and I was all like, really, man? You're really going to pull out? But
yeah, because I feel like he kind of ruined the hype from it. Because I feel like Fury versus Till would have been a pretty big fight, a couple, especially for Tommy Fury. He beat Jake Paul and KSI, 2 of the biggest influencer boxers.
And he hasn't fought since the KSI fight back in 2023. So people were anticipating his return, and what better way to return in 2025 on Misfits against a former UFC/MMA fighter. But the fight got canceled. The event was still going on, but I know Mams Taylor was trying to find someone, and he didn't have to look any further, man. The guy who's always there to save any event, and the guy who's willing to fight anyone. He wants all the smoke. Anthony Taylor,
all reliable. You can always call his phone, and he's gonna come in. He's gonna make a show of it. So.
Oh yeah. That's exactly why you gotta like Anthony Taylor. Maybe not the way he presents himself, but he's always in there trying to fight, and it doesn't matter who it is. So Anthony Taylor came in and saved the show. Now this is a big moment because Anthony Taylor, he's coming off like a 3, 4, 5 fight streak. He's been winning. He beat Salt Poppy, he beat King Kenny, he beat the son of Anderson Silva. He's on a demolition. He's beating everyone, and he's been calling out for these big names. He wants a big fight, and a lot of people don't want to give him a big fight because Anthony Taylor, no one really knows who Anthony Taylor is.
He's kind of his style is very messy and boring, so you don't even want to deal with that. And also, people underestimate how much experience he actually has. So he's actually a pretty dangerous fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also another thing to point out is that a lot of people just hate him. Hate him, one, for his personality, the way he is outside of the ring, but also just his fighting style, like how we mentioned, like just kind of going in there and clashing with his opponent.
Yeah, a bad, the fight they gave him a bad rep was the King Kenny on the Prime card. That fight was probably the worst fight of the night. Just a bunch of clashing, hugging, no really big moments, and that's all Anthony Taylor really needed to do. I remember afterwards, after the critique from the people, he vowed to make a change, to change up his style, more peekaboo, try to engage more, and he has shown a new, different layer. He not sparked out, but he whooped the shit out of Anderson Silva's kid. I don't remember his name, but he made easy work of him, and that was a big fight because it's Anderson Silva's kid. His kid fighting on Misfits. He's a big name. I mean, they're trying to build him up too. And what happened? He gets demolished in 2 or 3 rounds. Gets dropped like 2 or 3 times, and then gets the fight stopped. So Anthony Taylor has brought a new layer to his game, and he's been asking for these big fights. He's been calling out KSI. He wants a showdown with Jake Paul, even a rematch against Tommy Fury, and he believes that he rightfully deserves it. And I believe he will deserve a big shot if he's able to beat Darren Till.
Yeah, and this is the question. I mean, he finally got, I guess, a big fighter, a respected fighter, right? Darren Till is an ex-UFC guy. So, a lot of people respect him. At least he's gotten into the ring and actually knows how to throw a punch. But didn't his last, he's fought one time, right, as a boxer, and it went poorly?
Yeah, he fought on those, on the social knockout. They were in, Dubai. And he won by knockout in the first round, but then there was a brawl right afterwards.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was a big brawl ensued, so it was kind of crazy.
So that's his only real experience in boxing, more notably in influencer boxing. But yeah, I mean,
did he finish the fight, or was the fight over? And
the fight ended, right? A first round KO. The dude came at Darren Till complaining afterwards, saying, "Oh, you hit me behind the head, blah blah." And Darren Till was like, "Ah." But the other dude, I forgot his name, but he was so worked up about it, and he wanted to throw down. And Darren Till said, "Screw
Bring it,
I'll throw down with you." And then there was a whole brawl that happened, and there was security trying to break up everything. But yeah, so like I said, that's his only experience when it comes to boxing. Was a first round on social knockout. So yeah, Darren Till. But regardless of the boxing, I mean, he's UFC. I mean, he's what? Let me check his record. He's 18-5-1. I mean, that's a pretty extensive and long career, especially fighting in mixed martial arts. So Darren Till, I mean, he's also fought big names.
Yeah, he has.
So he has the experience, even though maybe he didn't beat them, but he still has the experience of fighting top elite, world-class fighters overall, whereas Anthony Taylor has mostly his experience stems from influencer, fighting a lot of these influencers, Salt Poppy, King Kenny, a lot of these guys who just transitioned over to boxing just because of the wave that it came. They were very big on social media, and then they were like, let me give boxing a chance. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Anthony Taylor deals with Darren Till.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes with these MMA guys, Darren Till has hands, right? He knows how to throw a punch. He knows how to get down. He also got that mentality too. But it doesn't always translate to boxing, pure boxing. So we saw one round of him, so we don't really know that much. In UFC, he definitely has hands, but I don't know how he's going to look against Anthony Taylor, who, he's experienced now with those influencers.
Yeah, I mean, for me, look, the one thing I will say about this fight is that it's kind of interesting. You got two guys who, just like Darren Till, Anthony Taylor has MMA experience, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So he has that as well, plus the boxing as well. So I think with Anthony Taylor, his career has been going up and down. He first started just kind of doing traditional boxing, found his lane in Misfits, and he's been doing pretty well in Misfits. And now this is a different opportunity. He's been going and taking down these guys who are prospects in Misfits. There's the Salt Poppy, Hype Train, King Kenny as well. And now he's going up against Darren Till. Darren Till, who he seems like a dog, like a guy who is not going to take shit from anyone. But I mean, that's the same thing that Mike Perry was saying to Jake Paul, and nothing happened. You know, it was kind of like a joke. But it is interesting. The one thing that I do find interesting is the fact that I want to see his inside fighting game. You know, Anthony Taylor has pretty good inside fighting game, making the fight really messy, but making it in his favor. And I'm interested to see if Darren Till is able to kind of neutralize that. That is the one thing I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen in this fight. I think it's going to be a lot of inside fighting, and I think it's going to be a lot of clinches too. Two MMA guys, they're probably going to want to like grapple a little bit, get their hands on each other. So I'm expecting it to be a pretty messy fight, honestly.
Boring?
Yeah, I'd say boring, honestly.
No knockout, no nothing like a big dramatic moment like Darren Till drops Anthony Taylor or vice versa.
The only way I could see it is that Till drops AT, because I don't see AT getting a knockdown or a stoppage or nothing.
No, you don't think he has the power to do so?
I don't think so, no. And he doesn't fight like it. Maybe he does, but he doesn't fight like he fights more, I don't know, just sloppy. It's very rare that you see him like set up like a really clean shot, you know.
But okay, so with Anthony Taylor, let's say he fights Darren Till and beats him. What's next for Anthony Taylor? Because he's definitely already kind of cemented himself as one of the top guys on Misfits. A win over Darren Till absolutely, I believe, catapults him, because this was supposed to be Tommy Fury's fight. And now if Anthony Taylor wins, I mean, this opens up huge fights for him. I don't know if he'll get a KSI fight, because KSI said, I only want big names. And rightfully so. I think KSI fighting Anthony Taylor or anyone from his own Misfits roster would be a very regression. It would be a big regression fight in my opinion. But yeah, Anthony Taylor still opens himself up to a lot of possibilities. What do you see next from him if he gets to win? Yeah,
a victory on Saturday will give Anthony Taylor the boost he needs, I think, to get big fights. And yeah, he probably won't get like the top guys, but now he's with Gibbs, Slim, all those guys. He could definitely make a fight with them, and those two names together, that'd be a big fight. So he definitely opens himself up to big names, and if he gets like another 2 win against respectable guys like Slim or Gibb or something like that, then he could be looking at a KSI.
Yeah, I think just with his recent record or his recent history, I think he does this, and especially if he wins against Darren Till, he definitely deserves a big title shot, a big money fight. But I don't think I see him going up against KSI or like Jake Paul, something like that. I feel like possibly I would like to see him fight Slim, although I don't think they're in the same weight class, but something of that nature, someone who is not a top A-level boxer within the influencer scene, but someone like a B+ or whatever the fuck. Mostly because like Anthony Taylor has like no fans. No one wants to see him fight. So it's really hard to make these matchups like happen.
Well, a victory this Saturday and he's going on a title run. That's what I say.
He might. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things riding for Anthony Taylor in the aspect of this fight. Another big fight it's not really that big. Oh, look, this card, I remember when it dropped, people were so disappointed. They were saying this. They're like, what kind of card is this? I mean,
actually, for me, so that's the only thing that I find interesting is that fight only. I feel like we were lied to. I think we were promised Tommy Fury and Darren Till. That didn't happen because Tommy Fury pussied out. Okay, but the co-main event was supposed to be against Wade and HS, and that didn't happen either. So like, why I feel like we just got like blue balled. Like, who the hell is his next opponent?
Yeah, I'm not too sure about his opponent. I think they're calling him the Masai Warrior, but I mean, when it comes to, because this is the co-main event now, Wade has been a big a voice in influencer boxing since early on, and him and KSI, Mams Taylor, they beefed before. I mean, he's commentated with them, but then they started beefing, and then he got kicked out of Misfits, and then he's been doing his own thing. He's been doing well for himself, but it was kind of weird seeing him, that whole WWE kind of shenanigans they did with Wade concept, doing the walkout, going to the ring.
It was so cringe. Oh my gosh, it was hard to watch.
Yeah, and then HS Tiki Taki coming out too, and then they're all like, oh, this is the next fight for 2025. But yeah, I mean, Wade, I don't know, there's a lot of not hype around him in the aspect of getting into the ring, but people have been like a little curious to see.
They're intrigued. I mean, this is a guy that's been commenting on like boxers like KSI, their technique for like years now.
Those breakdowns and everything.
Exactly. So, you know, he's put himself as a credible guy that, you know, knows at least the studying of boxing, you know, but we've never seen him actually fight. You know, we've never seen him get in the ring. And I think a lot of people are curious because they know who he is. He's a big name in the influencer space. Does this guy got hands or not? I mean, we got to know.
Which is what, I mean, they kind of, you know, they're trying to build up HS Tiki-Taki a lot. And that's what I think they were trying to use Wade as a kind of like as a sacrifice, quote unquote, because I mean, Mams Taylor is definitely not going to put HS Tiki-Taki on against an opponent that could possibly beat him, and especially since he's trying to build up HS Tiki-Taki, especially the hype that HS Tiki-Taki has for some reason. I don't know. I don't follow him at all. I don't know how big his fan base really is, but the fact, they were like super hyped up for HS Ticket, saying, "Oh, he's gonna debut." I'm like, yo, like, who is this? Like, who?
Yeah, I think in the UK, I think he's bigger. That's why he's like one of those guys that in the UK he's big. The US doesn't really know him that well.
Oh, okay, that makes sense because I had no idea who. I just know him from the Zerka video.
Yeah, that's. I think that also built up a little bit of hype because he just fought a guy on the street. That was so funny.
I mean, he got jumped and then he still won.
He still won. Yeah.
So they're still trying to build up HS Tiki-Taki. He pulled out of the fight, I think for medical reasons, injury, something like that. But I mean, HS Tiki-Taki, in my opinion, isn't like a too disciplined fighter. I don't see much of him besides maybe getting like a big fight because they're really trying to dub him up as the next big thing, saying, "Oh, he could beat Jake Paul with 1 year of training." I'm like, hold up, no, he won't. He won't beat Jake Paul.
I think that is true. He is a bit overrated right now. I don't know. His hype train is really big because I do remember seeing a lot of people comparing him or wanting to match him up against Jake Paul. I was like, guys, okay, Jake Paul's been there for like 6 years, 7 years, bro. He's not doing nothing.
And it wasn't just the fans. It was Mams Taylor also saying, "Oh, he could beat Jake Paul with some amount of time of training." And I'm like, dude, there's no way you guys really believe that, because if you really believe that, that's called delusion. I just see it more as Mams Taylor doing his job as a promoter, trying to promote HS Tiki-Taki and saying whatever he can say to get the attention and make people say, "Oh, HS Tiki-Taki, maybe he can beat Jake Paul." It's not likely.
Look, for me, the reason why I was so curious about Wade and HS is because I feel like boxing, at the end of the day, if you put it in the most simple form, is just a way of fighting. And I think HS, he's been a guy who fights on the street. He gets jumped and he still is able to he's still able to fight his way out of that. Like, I feel like almost instinctively, like, people want to see this guy get into the ring. And then I feel like the clash up, or maybe just the style of Wade, a guy who understands the sport to the T. He understands the fundamentals. He studies it on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's kind of what I was curious to see about those two fighting this year.
Well, it was interesting to see Wade going for that as his very first opponent, for debut, because obviously this guy's hype train is crazy and it's probably a risky matchup for him. He's never fought before. But fortunately or unfortunately, I guess, depending on how he felt when Tiki-Taki dropped, he found a new opponent. And even though no one really knows who this guy is.
It's his pro debut.
Okay.
Or his debut, I mean.
So they're both debuting then. It's still, Wade is still in the co-main event because, he's still a big name. Right. So he still takes that spot. Yeah,
so Wade officially makes his debut this weekend on the Darren Till Anthony Taylor. I want to give some quick predictions for this fight. Like I mentioned earlier, this entire card, I wasn't really too, it didn't really gravitate towards me that much. Like you said, I think we did get blue balled with Tommy Fury pulling out and also HS. It probably would have been a bigger deal if it was. But my predictions, I think Wade should come up on top. Now that HS Tiki-Taki is out of the picture for right now, let's try to build up Wade, and let's give him an opponent. I think Wade's gonna get the job done. I've been seeing some clips of him by his trainer BJ Flores.
He's being trained by BJ Flores.
Yeah, BJ
Flores,
hey,
bro.
Dude, I'm saying BJ Flores has one of the best stables in influencer boxing. Not only does he now have Wade, no, dude, he has what's his name?
Jake Paul?
Josh Bruckner.
Oh.
He has Josh Bruckner. He has Tristan Ham. He's building himself a little roster of fighters he trains. So now he adds Wade into it, and I mean now he's got three pretty big names in the influencer scene. So yeah, but BJ Flores has been uploading footage of Wade hitting the bag, doing mitts, even sparring, and I mean Wade's looking pretty good. I mean it's what I would expect from a guy who's gonna really just debut, kind of maybe still looking a little too stiff, but you can clearly tell he's thinking in there, and he has a little something. So I'm predicting Wade to get the win. In terms of the main event, this one's a little interesting. I don't know. This one's a little hard because I don't really know what to expect from Darren Till.
Yeah.
And the matchup, I feel it might be a little ugly. I think Darren Till might take the win. I think he's gonna beat Anthony Taylor. I think he's. I like Anthony Taylor, but I think Darren Till might be a little bit too much for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think Till is a wild card. I think he's gonna do pretty good. So I have him winning, and I also have Wade winning too.
Yeah, I think for me, I have Wade winning for sure, and then I think the next, Wade winning for sure. I think maybe just by points, UD, and I think for Anthony Taylor and Darren Till, that's kind of a tough one, but I'm gonna go with AT.
Yeah, you like AT, don't you? You're his one and only fan.
You know what's funny? There are some antics that he does outside of the ring that I kind of like. Yeah, I think it's funny.
Well, I like Anthony Taylor too, but I just don't see. I think Darren Till might be. I think Anthony Taylor does well at a certain level.
For influencers.
Yeah. And once, if you take him out of that element and try to step him up, I think that's where we might see the, the limit. That might be a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Like when he fought Tommy Fury, Tommy Fury was a bit too much for him. When he would spar Jake Paul would most likely have his way with Anthony Taylor. So and also Darren Till is a naturally bigger guy. He's huge, like 6 feet, over 200 pounds when he's not fighting. So we're talking about big dudes. So I just think physically and experience wise, I think Darren Till will be a little bit too much for Anthony Taylor. But those were our official predictions for this week's Misfits 20, headlined by Darren Till and Anthony Taylor, and co-main event featuring the debut of Wade Concept. Switching gears now to back to traditional boxing. It's 2025, start of the year. We haven't really had a big boxing event take place as of right now. We also had the cancellation the cancellation of Inoue and Goodman. Sam Goodman suffered another injury, a terrible cut in sparring. I saw the footage and I saw the photo. It was bad.
It's a crazy thing because they had headgear, gloves. How do you get that deep of a scar?
I think it might have been because he had injured it before.
It's the same eye, right?
I believe.
Yeah,
I think so. So that. I mean, he's going right back into sparring after getting it, healed. It's still tender, bro.
Yeah, imagine what Inoue would have done to him. Oh my gosh,
dude, he murdered.
He would have broken his eye. I think
would have tenderized his face, man. That would have been bad. So now we gotta wait until February for the big one, which is featuring David Benavidez as he takes on David Morrell. So we still got some time to kind of think about what we want to see for 2025. So that gave us the opportunity to kind of pinpoint the last round podcast, some of the fights that we want to see for this year. Did you write them down, Rodo?
Yeah, I did.
Do you want to name off the first one that we want to see?
Let me name the first one. Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, 2025. I know this is a matchup that a lot of the Brits over there across on the other side of the pond wanted to see, and I think people here in the United States and all around the world really want to see that fight because this is a fight that I feel like, especially 7 years ago, it was these two guys who were definitely just beating everyone in UK, and it turns out they are the top two best guys of England at the moment. Possibly one can say that this is a little fight that a lot of people would have liked to have seen maybe 4 years ago or something like that. But I think, why now? I think now is the best time. They both lost against the number one guy. So let's see who's the number two guy.
Yeah, I'd love to see this fight. I mean, I feel like it has to be done at Wembley Stadium, though. like at the O2 or something like that. Over there, it has to be in England because those Brits are some crazy boxing fans, and it's like the number one and arguably number one and number two guys in England going head to head against each other. I mean, that has to be, it's going to be massive over there in the UK. So I'd love for it to happen. Like you said, yeah, both coming off of 2 losses, but I mean, with Turkey, he doesn't care anymore. We're getting fighters even if they've lost. Like Deontay Wilder kept on getting called back till after he lost to Zile. But I don't see why we can't see this in 2025.
Yeah, it's a huge fight. The right time is now. If it wasn't right before, it's definitely right now. They're both, like you said, coming off a loss and whatnot. Wembley Stadium is the ideal location. My only issue would be about Tyson Fury. See if he, because I talked about it before. I believe Tyson Fury is going to take a little break from boxing, and I don't see him coming back until maybe late 2025. Depends on the money Turkey is willing to splash, and also I think Turkey is smart enough also to have the fight take place in England. Of course, he always has mostly all the fights take place over in Saudi Arabia, but if he's a smart guy, and I'm pretty sure he's well aware that a fight in England would be the main attraction, and I think it would attract Tyson Fury even more. Instead of saying, "Oh, if I splash this X amount of money if you fight in Saudi Arabia compared to I'll splash an X amount of money if you fight in England."
Yeah, and I think he will do it because he's came to the US before and had a show here, so I don't see why he wouldn't go to the UK.
Yeah, it's a big fight. UK fans would love it. They'd sell that place out. Anthony Joshua is still Anthony Joshua. He's still got his own fan base. Fury. Come on, we're talking about one of the biggest fights of 2025, and a lot of people truly believe that's a fight that should be made by this year. So that's the first out of the fights that we want to see for 2025. Yeah. There's another one.
The next one, let's go back to the United States. Let's go.
But who do we think is gonna win, or who do you think? Should we give a prediction or now?
Shit, screw it, bro. I'm just gonna predict it right now. Tyson Fury beats Anthony Joshua.
Dang. KO?
Nah, outboxing.
Yeah, that's true.
I think for me, yeah, I gotta go and stick with my boy Fury. Yeah, he's my boy still, even though he lost against Usyk. But yeah, I would favor Fury.
Yeah, same. Joshua, I don't think Joshua's the same Joshua anymore. So I think that's another reason why a lot of people would wanted to see it earlier, is because I guess the consensus now, there's a lot of doubt on Joshua's name after that brutal KO.
Yeah, especially that chin too. He's been knocked down a few times now.
Yeah.
So and also Daniel Dubois won KO of the year.
Yeah. Rightfully so.
Yeah.
Or I guess not. No, not rightfully. Yeah, actually no.
There's better knockouts.
Yeah, there was better knockouts. But H2O was better. I can't lie.
That was a good one.
Okay, what's the next one?
Yeah, the next one. Let's go back here into the United States. Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson at 135.
Yeah, I think this fight should happen, especially after the shocking moment where Gervonta Tank said that he was going to retire in 2025. He's going to have one more year of boxing, and then that's it. He's gone. So realistically, if we look at the agenda of a schedule, he's scheduled to fight Lamont Roach already at the beginning of the year. Maybe another fight in the summer, and then maybe the last fight in the fall. Shakur Stevenson's meant to fight in February. So they should both be free by the summer and fall, depending on, how, let's say, shocking moment Gervonta Davis gets dropped and stopped, or Shakur Stevenson gets TKO'd by, who's he fighting?
I don't remember.
Oh my gosh. Floyd Schofield.
Yes.
So if in case a big shocking moment where both of them somehow end up losing, or one of them, the fight probably won't happen. But I feel like it makes sense, especially if Gervonta is truly serious about leaving the sport. Might as well leave the sport by giving the fans big fights. And Shakur Stevenson has always been that name that people bring up as a possible opponent that could beat Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in. If Tank is actually serious about that retirement talk, because honestly, my gut instinct tells me that he's lying. Yeah. That's my gut instinct. I don't think he will retire in 2025. He might be a little bit fed up with boxing. Probably, boxing politics is a whole different story, right? But for him to leave boxing, especially, he's still in the prime of his career. I think it's a little unlikely, but he definitely has to fight Shakur. I mean, we've been talking about this fight for a really long time as well now, and both of them are champions right now, 135, to unify some belts. Turkey is there. He'll offer them dumb money, like crazy money, and that's usually what it always comes down to. Both fighters trying to outprice themselves out of fighting each other. You know, they ask for too much money, too big of a split, and usually no one was able to provide that money. But now we got Saudi Arabia money, and it's infinite, I guess. You know, Turkey can just splash however much he wants in boxing, and it seems to work out. So I don't think there's anything stopping this fight from happening in 2025.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really believe what Tank says. You know, I feel like recently he's been doing a little bit of antics. I know, he said that I'm not going to be in boxing for a long time. He said, I'm only here for a good time, not a long time. But he also said that at one point, I want to say like a couple weeks ago, he deactivated his IG account and said the fight is over. He posted on his story and IG, and then he just deactivated his account. But that was a lie. That was all just antics. So I don't know if him saying that is also just part of the antics or whatever to try to sell that fight, because if we're going to be honest, no one really knows who Lamont Roach is. But that's another debate for another day. Yeah, Davis and Shakur, that's such a fight that we really need to see, depending on whatever Davis really wants to do. If that's truly what he wants to do, retire very soon within the next few fights, congrats, player. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. But we need to see that fight. We need to see you fight against a guy who many could see you maybe lose, or it could be more of an even fight. Because up until now, we haven't really seen that type of matchup against Gervonta Davis and another of his opponent. It's always been Gervonta Davis he's the A side. He's definitely going to win. Now it's against a guy who's a slick fighter, a defensive fighter. No.
Yeah, it's stylistically interesting to see what kind of this type of matchup would give us, because, like you said, Shakur Stevenson is, a prime slick boxer. He's high IQ. He just happens to know his timing, good counter punches, keeps the rhythm, keeps his opponent at bay, and just beats you, just outpointing you. Where you have Gervonta Tank, who just destroys him. He just drops a bomb and then you're gone, man. Ask Frank Martin, ask Rolly Romero, ask all these opponents who have faced Gervonta Davis besides Pitbull. And
I was about to say, ask Isaac Cruz. Oh wait.
Ask anyone else besides Pitbull, Cruz, and they'll tell you, yeah, this man, he's got some power. So it's a fight that I truly believe we need to see. Hopefully it gets done. Of course, sometimes boxing politics does take place. He said that Saudi Arabia, with Turkey being a huge factor in modern day boxing. A lot of these fighters who would price themselves out can no longer price themselves out, because and if they reject the offer, then that's a sign of, or it's an indication of that they were truly not about it. So hopefully we get to see something happen between Gervonta Davis and Shakur by summer, maybe the ends of 2025. I'm hoping more towards the summer season, but who knows at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Shakur has been real friendly with Turkey a lot for a long time now. Like last year, he's always with them. So I definitely think, it is gonna happen. And like a victory for Tank, I think should be a motivating factor for Tank to fight Shakur, because a victory over Shakur is he's gonna finally be able to beat the bad resume allegations. Tank haters always talking about, his resume is like shit. They're always poking holes into it, and there is something to be said, right? But I feel like that rumor the rumor has always been around him for a good part of his career. If he wants to, get rid of it, fight Shakur Stevenson and beat him, and people will then give you the respect you want.
Predictions for this fight.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Tank Davis wins this fight. That's what I think.
Yeah, this is a tough matchup. But if I would put money, I would put my money on Davis. Davis, he's a guy who is heavy-handed in both hands, but he has a high ring IQ. He plays the long game. He is able to, as the rounds progress, he gets better and better and better. But he's also able to suffocate his opponent mentally. Like, he almost makes it seem as though there is no way out other than Tank stopping you. He almost makes it seem as though no matter how big the ring is, the opponent always assume that it's smaller, because he almost every fight Tank is cutting off the ring. He's following his opponent from rope to rope. So Tank has good counterpunching skills. He's explosive as well. And then Shakur's chin, it's been a little questionable, but I don't think he can handle Gervonta Davis' power. So I would say Gervonta Davis.
My prediction, I predict Shakur Stevenson to beat Tank. This fight for Gervonta Davis will give us a kind of an indication of how he would look against Shakur. I mean, Lamont Roach, more of a boxer type of fighter rather than a brawler or whatever. You just look back at his fights. He's smart in there. He's always thinking, and seeing how Gervonta Davis will have to be somewhat precautionary early on in the fight. See what Lamont Roach brings. And I think it also gives an indication of how he would fight against Shakur Stevenson. But Lamont Roach is nowhere near the level of Shakur. So I just think Shakur Stevenson is too much, man. He's too smart, man. He's too smart.
Honestly, this is truly like a 50-50 fight, right? I feel like both fighters have the right style to beat the other opponent. For Tank Davis, he needs like a mega slick boxer that just outboxes him, uses his jabs and his feet to get away from Tank's pressure and his counter punches. But then for Shakur Stevenson, to beat him, you need a guy that can time you, and he catches you one time, you actually go down. So I think both of them really have clear paths to victory, and that's why the boxing community has been screaming for this fight to be made.
So that was number 2 for fights of 2025 that we want to see. What's another one?
Yeah, let's go with number 3. Let's go over there to Japan. Inoue. Inoue versus MJ. I can't pronounce the dude's complete full name, but it's MJ.
Yeah, MJ's the guy that lost to Tapales. Yeah. So instead of, because Inoue was on the collision course to fight MJ, but MJ lost, and then Tapales got the chance. Inoue made easy work of Tapales, but still there's been some talk at the 122 that MJ is the real deal actually, and MJ and Eddie Hearn has been calling out Inoue. Eddie Hearn got on the mic and being a promoter like he is and like he should, was saying that, I think, what did he say? Inoue was scared to fight him. Yeah, he said Inoue was scared to fight MJ, and this is the real fight. So let's see it in 2025.
Yeah, I feel like, when it comes to fighting, matchups make fights, make really great fights, and it makes fights that causes upsets. And I think that's what happened with Tapales and MJ. With Inoue, I'm not quite sure what he wants to do. I mean, in recent fights, I feel like Inoue has been gaining a little bit muscle. So I think there's a lot of rumors online thinking that he might go up to 126 because he basically has all the belts at this point at 122. It looks like there's nothing else for him to do. So, I mean, I'm not sure if he's going to go up to 126 or stay at 122 and just bulk up for MJ. But, yeah.
Yeah, this is a interesting fight. A lot of people... also, Inoue, after Eddie Hearn called out Inoue, saying that Inoue is scared of MJ and whatnot, Inoue went on Twitter, on X, and spoke about it, saying like, how can I be scared when I was going to fight him if he didn't lose against Tapales. Like, at this point, blame yourself for losing, because we would have fought when I fought Tapales. So just like, calm down. Like, well, I'll get to you after I beat Goodman.
I've never seen that reaction from Inoue, and honestly, I was there for it. I was like, yeah, Inoue, talk your shit. I mean, he's the undisputed champion, I ain't scared to fight nobody.
Yeah, and it's interesting because another fighter they always kind of pin up Inoue against is Casemiro. I mean, some of our videos that we have of Inoue, I always see like comments of Casemiro saying like Inoue is scared of Casemiro, Casemiro this and that.
But like Casemiro like fell off from boxing. He took like breaks and stuff like that.
I feel like he hasn't really been fighting on like main cards and whatnot. But I think what a lot of people like about Casemiro is that he's a tricky Filipino fighter. He's also, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's a southpaw as well. But he's so tricky. He's so sometimes so unpredictable. And I think that's what I like. That's what a lot of people like about him. On his record, it doesn't look like he has too much power, but he has like sneaky power. If you sleep on him a little bit, he just finds his way to hurt you.
In regards though to MJ and Inoue, I feel that this fight is necessary in order for Inoue to move up to 126.
Is it necessary though?
Well, it's because Inoue, before even, when he entered 122, and there was already like immediate talks of him going to 126 after like a fight or two. He said like him and his team said that they're still thinking of staying at 122 for a bit longer. Get the body adjusted. I mean, he just barely went up from 118 to 122, so give him some time to have a couple fights at 122 before jumping up to featherweight. But yeah, in regards to a fight with MJ, I mean, this is 122 at the moment is not too stacked of a division. MJ is what a lot of people consider the next best guy at that weight. So it'd be like if it's kind of like when like let's say oh my gosh, I'm trying to come up with a analogy or with a comparison in a different division. It's kind of like if Gervonta Davis, instead of fighting Shakur Stevenson at 135, went up to 140. And just stay there and, just started fighting there. People would be like, okay, like Shakur Stevenson isn't going to chase you up there because Shakur Stevenson started off at 126. I mean, he's a smaller guy. He probably doesn't plan on going up to 140 anytime soon right now. Like, that would have been a huge what if fight. Like, what if Shakur Stevenson had the necessary tools to beat Gervonta Davis at 135?
Yeah, MJ was seen as like the best guy at 122, I think, or one of the best guys with Stephen Fulton. So yeah, I get it. I think it was a kind of an upset that Tapales beat MJ. So yeah, that's why MJ was regarded as one of the best ones. And I guess, but I don't know. Honestly, all this, they always say this about Inoue. Yeah. I don't know why. They always underplay him or underrate him and say, oh, this is the guy that beats him. Fulton is the one that beats him. He never fought an American slick fighter like this. And then Inoue just beats the shit out of everybody. So I think that's just going to happen with anybody at 122. No disrespect to all the other champions, but Inoue is just that guy.
So would you like to see him move up to 126 instead?
I would. That's what my dream would be. Because at 126, we got some great fighters there. So it's just so much more exciting as a boxing fan seeing Inoue go up to 126. But I could see why he wants to stay at 122 and get his body adjusted.
Yeah, for me, I'm still. I still don't know what. I can't really read Inoue. But one thing I do, like a little tell that I kind of saw is that he reacted to some comments that a promoter said, you know what I'm saying? Saying that he's scared. I think there's we said it before. This might be the first time that Inoue has said something publicly just himself, like, yo, I'm not afraid of this guy. I think maybe there could be a little thorn on the side of his body now. Maybe he's going to have that replaying in his head. Oh, it's MJ. That's the guy that you need to beat. But he's getting bigger. So I don't know if he has bigger fish to fry because MJ, sadly, I would like to see that fight, but sadly, MJ doesn't have the fan base to make that fight worth seeing or putting together.
For the U.S. probably. Yeah, the U.S. probably doesn't know a lot who that guy is. I think he's bigger a lot more, obviously.
In Japan.
Yeah, so, but I think one thing with Inoue, it was a bit interesting seeing him, kind of snap on Twitter, but I think he's one of those fighters that, like, he's respectful, but if you disrespect him, then he gets, like, real pissed. Because remember when he fought in the World Series that they had?
Rodriguez?
And he fought Rodriguez, the Puerto Rican. And the Rodriguez got into it with his dad. And Inoue, it was, like, rumored that Inoue got really mad and beat the shit out of him in, like, 3 rounds. Yeah. So it's not a good idea to make Inoue mad.
Predictions?
I mean, who's gonna go against Inoue? I mean, come on, who's gonna go against Inoue?
Yeah, Inoue is pound for pound top 3 in the world. There's no doubt about it, and I just don't. Yeah, even though MJ is a great fighter, he's coming off a fantastic win earlier last month, but Inoue is different gravy, bro. It's I think he's the best fighter at 122. 126 is where I would maybe start seeing some holes in his armor. Some weakness in there, but at 122, no doubt Inoue wipes out anyone.
Yeah, I think so too. Although MJ, he has that Eastern European boxing style, so it's interesting to see. Every time an Eastern boxer fights, it's always kind of a gamble to see what kind of style we're gonna see of him. It's kind of unpredictable. They have a different style or different mindset of just boxing and stuff. So, but I'm gonna stick to my guns in a way.
Nice. All right. How many more we got?
We got one more. Okay, let's go to 154. Let's go to Terrence Crawford versus Canelo. No, it's Terrence Crawford versus Akhmadaliev.
Yes, sir, man. This is a big one, in my opinion. I guess a lot of people don't really see it. You know, a lot of if you're more of a casual viewer, but Crawford and Akhmadaliev, I think, makes a lot of sense, man. It makes a lot of sense. More in the aspect of, you know, Sebastian Fundora. They were also trying to pin him up against Crawford, but they're kind of flirting with the idea of Earl Spence debuting at 154, taking on Sebastian Fundora. So that's kind of seems to be, you know, taking place. Negotiations are going on over there. So Crawford, I mean, if you're trying to look for a challenge, if the Canelo showdown does not happen, you got the IBF champion there, Akhmadaliev, coming off of a destructive performance against former champion Tim Tszyu.
Yeah, I watched that earlier this morning, and it was just sad to see. Like, gosh, it's so heartbreaking because I did like Tszyu a lot. But I mean, it just speaks volume to Akhmadaliev, how strong he is, how dangerous he is, and being less well known than the other champions at 154. He's like the black horse, you know. He's got the skills to be really big. And Terrence Crawford, you know, he's coming off of a victory over Madrimov. A lot of people were he felt he underperformed against Madrimov. You know, they were expecting to see a super dominant Terrence Crawford. I don't think that was very realistic, but it is what it is. And Akhmadaliev is a big guy, 6 feet. You know, he hits hard. He's fast, explosive. So I think this is a great stylistic matchup, honestly.
Yeah, it's such a dangerous fight for Terrence Crawford too. I think within the other champions, I think Akhmadaliev is probably number 2. So just for me, I think that is such a dangerous matchup for Crawford at this moment. And it's a fight that I would love to see. You know, unification at 154 with different guys now than what it was at back in 2024. But if I'm gonna be honest, I would like to see that fight, but I'm not sure if that fight will actually, you know, sell or actually come to fruition.
Well, I mean, Turkey, he had Terrence Crawford headline when he made his first ever USA show for Riyadh season. So
And it did kind of poorly, didn't it?
it did poorly.
Kind
Yeah.
of.
It did poorly, but I'm just saying that Turkey, you know, he can just bring it over to Saudi Arabia, and it'd be a lot more successful if he has it. Probably not main event, but just have it in the card,
Like a co-main event.
something like that. Of course, you can't have Crawford being like the
opener.
No, that's so disrespectful.
Unless he's fighting in Omaha, he can't be in the main event.
It's so disrespectful. Yeah, it's crazy. But no, yeah. So maybe in Saudi Arabia they could probably have this type of showdown.
It is true, but I just feel Turkey's still talking about that Terrence Crawford versus Canelo. I mean, it continues to be on his mind, and he even put that in his dream matchups for 2025. And honestly, I don't really want to see that fight. I'd much rather see Crawford versus Akhmadaliev. I think that makes a lot more sense, especially for the 154 landscape.
Yeah, a lot of people are, you know, or the huge rumor Canelo Crawford. It does not intrigue me at all. Of course, there's so many excuses that comes out of it, and honestly, it looks worse for Canelo. He loses. You lost against a 154 pounder. Like, what is going on? If he wins, you beat a 154 pounder. Like, what's going on? So it's a no-win situation for Canelo. The only thing he gets out of it is the money.
Yeah, money.
It's a huge money fight for him. Crawford, though, let's say he beats Canelo. He's the best guy of all. The greatest.
The GOAT.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. But if he loses, I mean, there's the first L of his career. But I mean, he's taking 168 power from Canelo Alvarez. I mean, he's gonna get hurt.
And the one thing, honestly, I feel like he's been pushing for that fight more because he knows it's like the kind of end of his career, the back end of his career. he wants to get a big ass payday. I mean, he loses to Canelo. You know, people aren't gonna be like, "Oh, you suck, Crawford." They're gonna be like, "I understand you lost to a 168 fighter. Okay, cool. You did your job. You tried to be great, and it didn't work out." So I feel like he would probably get more respect, honestly. They'd respect him for even making the attempt. On top of that, like 100 M's, and he's probably like, "Hell yeah, it's a win-win."
Yeah. So it doesn't make any sense for Canelo, in my opinion, just the money aspect. But bro, you already got money. You can make money. You made good amount of money fighting Berlanga.
Yeah, you could fight Sarase, bro, and you make a fucking payday, bro. I'm telling you.
Yeah, they can dub it. They can like Mexican revenge. Yeah. Canelo Alvarez taking on Bruno Sarase.
Come on, bro. He's gotta get the Mexican people back from the French, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, the whole Canelo Crawford. A lot of people are kind of want to maybe see it. Some people don't. We personally don't want to see that fight.
Maybe just like another fight at 154. You know, if Crawford doesn't want to fight Murtasaliev, because maybe a lot of people don't know about Murtasaliev, but a lot of people do know about Virgil Ortiz. Now he's not a champion, but he's there at 154 now.
I think he is like an interim. I think for one of the bouts.
WBC.
Okay, WBC. Yeah, so for Fundora, I believe. Yeah, I mean, Ortiz has always kind of been there for like those world champions, but he's never been a world champion, has he?
No.
So, you know, maybe his first title shot against Terrence Bud Crawford, it'd be interesting.
Well, it all comes down if he's able to beat Israel Madrimov.
And that's a big if.
A former champion coming off a loss against Terrence Crawford. So imagine if Virgil Ortiz sparks out Madrimov. People are going to push for Crawford against Ortiz, and that's a more realistic fight, in my opinion, than trying to put Canelo up against Terrence Crawford. But in regards of Crawford and Murtasaliev, predictions?
Dude, it's a good ass fight. Listen, I don't know, because Murtasaliev, okay, I liked what I saw, obviously, with Zoo. But I think there is still a little bit of an unknown with him. Yeah, you know, he is kind of a wild card. He's a dark horse. You know, we know he has the skills and the power to do something really great. But you know, can he under the brightest of lights like Terrence Crawford? I don't know. Off record, I think I'm gonna say Terrence Crawford. Yeah.
Okay. For me, yeah, this is such a hard fight because, I mean, when Murtasaliev became a world champion, he struggled a little bit. And, you know, going against a guy like Terrence Crawford, you're just going to struggle a little bit. This guy, Crawford, he has a high ring IQ. He can fight in both stands, and he does it pretty well. He's got power. He's got decent power in both hands, Crawford, but he also has pretty good boxing abilities. Like, he's able to know the range, slip in, slip out. Really good boxing. That it's possible that Murtasaliev might be a little bit like a fish out of the water. So that's where I kind of see Murtasaliev having problems against Crawford. You know, just boxing. You know, going just with boxing skills and whatnot. But if I were to bet money on the fight, if they were to fight, it would be Crawford.
Yeah, I mean, I said it after Murtasaliev beat Tim Tszyu that I still needed to see one or two more fights from Murtasaliev for me to give like a more concrete answer of how I see him. Excuse me, how I see him at 154. So that's, you know, he's still a wild card, like you said, in my opinion. In regards to Terrence Crawford, I mean, he's debuted at 135. He's gone up to already 4 different weight divisions. When Bakram Murtasaliev is a natural 154 pounder. He's a big dude. Crawford fought a natural 154 pounder, and Madrimov, he had trouble. It's the hardest for me to kind of pick a winner right now. I'd pick Terrence Crawford just because I know more about Terrence Crawford and what he can do, you know, in a big occasion. But if I see 1 or 2 more fights of Murtasaliev and he looks as destructive as he did against Tim Tszyu, then I might edge it towards Murtasaliev to beat Terrence Crawford. But as of right now, I think Crawford beats him.
Yeah, I mean, Murtasaliev is like... he's still kind of young. He's like 31, I believe. So I mean, we could still see 1 or 2 more fights, and he's just going to continue to get better and better. Now he's a world champion. He got a big name boost because he beat Tim Tszyu. So hopefully we're going to see more of him, more coverage on him, and see his fights going into the future. And I'm very much I've been impressed by his performances. I'm expecting a lot from him. That's why I believe, even like just off rip right now, I think this fight would be pretty close. So big hopes for Murtazaliev at 154.
Yeah, for me, if that fight doesn't even happen, I'm pretty sure like I can see Murtazaliev unifying that weight class as well.
Well, those were our 2025 fights that we want to see this year. Let us know down below if you agree, if you also want to see those fights, or let us also know what fights do you guys want to see for 2025. Also, Misfits 20 is happening this weekend. Do you believe that Anthony Taylor gets the win over Darren Till? Or do you think that Anthony Taylor is maybe biting on more than he can chew? Also, does Wade make a good debut this weekend, or is he just all the talk and should focus on his breakdown videos? Let us know down below in the comment section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all forms of social media. We are on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Lastly, don't forget to join our Discord. We're trying to build up a community, and you guys joining would be greatly appreciated. Everything that I mentioned is in the link in the description below. But this was Pablo, and I'm with Rudo and Asa, and this was the Last Round Podcast. Thank you for watching.